Every morning, before the world has a chance to invade my mind, I read a few lines that bring me back to myself. These words aren't magic. They're not a quick fix or a viral mantra. But they are an anchor, a quiet guide that reminds me what truly matters when the noise gets too loud. It's easy to wake up already overwhelmed. The moment you open your eyes, there's a flood of expectations waiting, messages to answer, tasks to finish, deadlines, notifications that scream for your attention before you've even had a moment to breathe. We're taught to jump straight into doing, to measure our worth by how much we accomplish before noon, to equate busyness with value. But the words I read each morning remind me that life is not an emergency, that my value is not tied to my output, that my mind is not meant to be a battlefield. You are not here to chase time. You are here to savor it. This sentence alone can change the entire shape of a day. Because when you stop chasing, you start noticing. You start feeling the warmth of the sun instead of rushing past it. You taste your coffee instead of gulping it down on the way to your next obligation. These words remind me that presence is the true currency of a meaningful life. We think happiness is found in big milestones, but it's actually woven into the small pauses we overlook. I read these lines to remember that no one else is living my life for me. It's so easy to live for the next big thing, the next raise, the next relationship, the next achievement. But while we wait for these peaks, we often miss the moments that actually make up our days. A peaceful mind does not mean a life without storms. It means finding calm in the middle of them. This line taught me to stop waiting for perfect conditions before I allow myself peace. There will always be something unfinished. Someone who misunderstands you. A plan that falls apart. A fear that lingers in the background. But peace isn't about eliminating chaos. It's about building a steady center that chaos can't destroy. Every morning, I remind myself that I am allowed to be a work in progress. I don't need to have it all figured out before I can rest. I don't need to be perfectly healed before I can love. I don't need to be endlessly productive to deserve stillness. Rest is not a reward. It's a responsibility. That line alone shifted my entire relationship with my mind and my body. We glorify burnout. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. We act as if the more we suffer, the more worthy we become. But the truth is, a rested mind is a creative mind. A peaceful heart is an open heart. A nourished soul can actually hear its own wisdom. So every morning, I read and remember, slow down. Breathe. The world can wait. I remind myself that I am not behind. I am not late. I am not failing because I move at a different pace. Comparison is the thief of inner peace. When I start my day with these words, I reclaim my own rhythm. I stop measuring my morning against someone else's highlight reel. I stop rushing through sacred moments just to keep up with an imaginary timeline. These morning words have taught me that my mind is like a garden. Whatever thoughts I plant first thing in the morning will grow all day. If I plant fear, I water anxiety. If I plant gratitude, I harvest joy. So I choose carefully. What you focus on expands. Instead of focusing on what's missing, I focus on what's present. Instead of obsessing over how I'm perceived, I focus on how I feel when I'm alone with my own soul. And when I do this consistently, I notice that my mind feels less like a cage and more like a sanctuary. I also read to remind myself that most of the noise in my head isn't truth, it's just noise. The judgments, the assumptions, the worst-case scenarios. They're stories my mind tells to keep me small. Don't believe everything you think. That simple sentence is disarming. It invites me to question my thoughts instead of obeying them. To become an observer rather than a prisoner. When you start seeing your thoughts as visitors rather than commands, you realize you have a choice. You can let them pass. You can choose which ones to invite in for tea and which ones to send on their way. Each morning, I choose thoughts that serve my peace rather than sabotage it. I remind myself that life isn't just about surviving or performing. It's about experiencing, fully, tenderly, unapologetically. The point of life is not to make it to the end unscarred. The point is to live so deeply that even your scars tell a story of love. These words keep me sane because they ground me in what matters, not perfection, but presence. Not approval, but alignment. Not achievement, but aliveness. I don't read them to become someone else. I read them to come home to myself, every single day. And when the world inevitably pulls me back into its chaos, these words become a quiet shield. They help me respond instead of react. They help me soften instead of shut down. They help me remember that I don't have to join every battle I'm invited to. Protect your peace like it's the most expensive thing you own, because it is. If there's one thing I know now, it's this: starting your day from within changes everything that happens outside. If you begin anchored, no storm can fully uproot you. So every morning, before I check my phone, before I scroll through other people's lives, before I hand my mind over to the demands of the world, I read. I breathe. I return. And maybe these words can do the same for you. Because we're not meant to live in a constant state of urgency. We're meant to be here. To notice the warmth of the morning light. To hear our own breath. To remember our own hearts. That is why I read these words every morning. Not to escape life, but to fully enter it. Not to armor myself against the world, but to meet it with softness. And maybe, just maybe, to remind myself that peace was never somewhere far away. It was always right here, waiting for me to remember.